Hello, I welcome all of you to chapter 23 in the Nectar in a Sieve novel series. My third son, Murugan, who was a servant, married a girl from the town in which he worked. We had not seen her, nor did we know her family, and the marriage in the second year after Sakramani's birth was solemnized at her parents' house without either of us being present. Had it been at all possible, we would have gone, but it proved uh, beyond our power. The town was over 100 miles away, and since the harvest had been a poor one and Silver was earning very little, we had not the money to go by rail. Durgan, it is true, had a bullock in addition to his milch cows, and a cart which he offered to lend us for a small sum, but Nathan was not fit enough to undertake the journey there and back. He was nearly 50 and no longer as healthy as he had been. He had begun to suffer from rheumatism, and apart from this, had had several attacks of fever, from each of which he recovered more slowly and emerged weaker. Sometimes, in the middle of sowing or reaping or tilling, or the innumerable tasks the land demanded, he would stop and straighten up, breathing hard and trembling. So we can see how continuous works, continuous work made how continuous work and hard work makes the human body weak. We can see that here. And solemnized means legalized. You can write this down. Milch means milk cows, and so we will continue. Often he was unable to continue work and was forced to lie down in the hut for a while. Ira and I did what we could, but the land is mistress to man, not to woman. The heavy work needed is beyond her strength. Several times Kenny came to see him bringing food and sometimes medicine. He told me bluntly that my husband was not getting enough to eat. We eat well enough when the harvest is good, I answered him. So we can see how almost everything depends on the harvest they gain. If they are to suffer or if they are to prosper, everything depends on the harvest. But of course, we have our lean times. Too many, he said. Your husband needs milk and vegetables and butter, not plain rice day after day. I looked at him incredulously. So, incredulously means cannot tell in can't tell it means that can't tell sorry, it says can't believe. Incredulously means can't believe. Those can only come our way when the yield is rich. I said, it cannot be always or indeed even frequent, for we are not rich, you understand. I was not thinking, he muttered. Of course I know this too. Then day he told me that my husband would not recover until he stopped worrying. He's very anxious about you, he said. You must try and reassure him. So Nathan must be anxious if he happened to die. How would Rukmani fare? I would do so if only it were in my hands. But what comfort can one offer a man who sees his family wholly dependent on him and no one else to see to them? When I had said the words, I thought perhaps he will despise me for my weakness. Perhaps this will make him think I'm a self-pitying, good for nothing, anxious only for my own well-being. And I added quickly, there are others to consider besides myself. I do what I can, but it is not much. So in the place where Kenny says for Nathan to stop worrying, we can say that Nathan's illness highlights the plight of the impoverished workers. Although Nathan clearly suffers, and even to near death, he has no choice but to continue working. He's very I had not thought otherwise, he said gently. Tell me, is there no one else apart from your husband? So we can see here how Kenny asks as if there is no one else apart from the husband, so to look after the land. No one. My sisters have children of their own besides. They live very far away. We have not seen them for many years. My sons, well, they have made their lives elsewhere, as you know. There was a silence, and I thought, now I had wounded him. I did not mean to. I made a move towards him, but he seemed to shrink back. Both hands came up to bury his face. So, uh, Kenny felt sort of somewhat ashamed of what he had done, but actually what he had done was not wrong. It was for the better good of the family. I do not grudge, I began timidly. He took his hands away, and I saw the imprint of pain on his face. And I have taken the last of them, he said. Why do you not say it? It is true. I have taken him, and there is no recompense. For a moment the words would not come. There was room in me only for feeling very deep, very tender for this man who felt for me. You have taken nothing that was or would have been ours, I said at last. Seldom never belonged to the land. He would never have been a farmer like his father. Do not torment yourself that he has turned from it and found his peace with you. We would not have had it otherwise. So, in the place where we said recompense shows Kenny in a moment of insight and cultural understanding. Rukmani's sons should provide for them when they are too old to work. However, they are not in a position to do so. This predicament shows the rural farming economy and does and does actually provide security claims to give poor that it claims to give poor farmers. Yet in our hearts you may have wished for something else. If so, we have for long since forgotten it. We will not wish for our son other than what he would wish for himself. He has chosen well. And the silence. Do you never, he said, think of your future while you still have your strength and can plan? Naturally, we think. So we can see a cultural interchange between two different cultures here. So we write that down too. We can see a cultural interchange. Naturally, we think, but plan, how can we? It is not within our means. Is there nothing we can do? He asked. Nothing at all. What can we do? There are many like ourselves who cannot provide for the future. You know it yourself. Yes, I know. I don't know why I asked it. It was needless. There's no provision at all, he said, speaking half to himself. Neither for old, nor young, nor sick. They accept it. They have no option. He looks so stern that I grieve alarmed. Do not concern yourself, I said diffidently. Diffidently means hesitantly. We are in God's hands. He looked up sharply, abruptly, as if some chain of thought had been rudely broken. Then he left me. Nathan was lying within. What happened? He asked, turning to face me. You were a long time. We were talking. That is all. What about? You are as persistent as your grandson, I said. But being older, you should know better. We were talking about Selvam. Kenny thinks he will be good. He is shaving well. I'm glad. Tell me he did not say anything about me, only that you were not to worry and then you'd soon be on your feet. Worry about what? Did he say? About anything. You are to rest. Well, he said, I can see you are guarding your tongue. Never mind, I can guess. I shall be well soon, you will see. So she originally thought it was dangerous for her son to enter off the land, but now she sees the choice as beneficial and good. But I shall be well soon, you will see. A few days later, he was up, and to my astonishment, for the next year or so, he had no further trouble. Then one day, when I was congratulating myself on his recovery, the blow fell. Now we'll go on forward to what the blow was. I was out gathering cow dung. I did not see Shivaji come in, and he left quickly as soon as he had delivered his message. I came with my basket half laden and saw my husband sitting on the floor, staring out before him, a dazed expression on his face and his lips trembling loosely. Sakrabani was crouched in a corner, hugging his niece in his arms, and his pink, fascinated eyes, half curious, half terrified, fixed on his grandfather. I sent the child out and went to Nathan, thinking he had had another of his attacks. But he seemed to wake up when he heard my voice and waved me away. I'm all right. Here, drink this, you'll feel better. I tipped the mud pot and filling his bowl, handed it to him. He drank obediently as if to please me, spilling a little in the process. He was still shaking. I sat beside him waiting. The land is to be sold, he said. We are to move. Sivaji came this morning. He says there is nothing to be done. I could not take it in. I gaped at him unbelieving. He nodded as if to emphasize that what he had said was so. The tannery owners are buying the land, they pay good prices. So, in the previous instances, we also saw how the various incidents foreshadow their eventual fate. They are eventually deprived of the land, they are eventually thrown out of the land. So, we can see that here. The tannery, that word brought instant understanding. Realization came like a rocket, swift and fiery. They can't, I said. I remember saying helplessly. It is our land. We have been here 30 years. Nathan opened his hands, trembling important. Shivaji tells me there is profit to be made. The landlord has completed the deal. Papers have been signed. We must leave. So we can see here how Rukmani has nothing to sell the land. Uh, and no other job option. Nathan will never secure another plot of land given his age and health. Nor do they have money to rent a room elsewhere. The family will be homeless. This leaves the family the first blow when their landlord sells the land. This sale not only highlights how the treacher- treacherous tannery has slowly raised the livelihood, it also pushes the couple into desperation. They have no possibility of survival without their land. So you can write that down in your books. Where can we go? I wanted to ask, but that was a question at present without an answer, and I refrained. Instead, he put the question, where are we to go? What shall we do? How much time have we got? I asked, preparing for the worst. He does not expect us to leave at once. He has given us 2 weeks' time in which to go, which is lenient. Lenient is easygoing, but it is very sarcastic that how the 2 weeks can be lenient for them. It is a very short period of time. A dozen lines of thought began and continued in my brain without ending, proceeding, tangling like threads on some meaningless warp. My head was whirling. I must sit down and think, I said to myself, but not now, later. Follow each thought to its conclusion, decide what we are to do for ourselves, plan, as Kenny said, for ourselves and our children. This present chaos is madness. I do not know why they need this bit of land, I said, in the manner of people who must say something for the sake of sanity, which speech can bring. Certainly they cannot build on it. It is a swamp meant only for rice growing. Nathan shrugged. Who knows? Perhaps they can drain it, tighten the soil. They have resources beyond our imagining. Or perhaps they wish to grow rice for their own men. He too was speaking like me, automatically for the sake of speaking. I made another effort, a pitiful one, for the words I said were the last to bring comfort. At least we shall not have much to carry. The granary is almost empty. He nodded in dull agreement. Then once again we relapsed into silence, sunk in our own thoughts. Sometimes I always felt the tannery would eventually be our undoing. Had known it since the day the cars had come with their loads of bricks and noisy, dusty men, staining the clear soft greens that once had colored our village, and claiming its cool silences with clamor. Since then it has spread like weeds in an untended garden, strangling whatever life grew in its way. It had changed the face of our village beyond recognition and altered the lives of its inhabitants in a myriad ways. Myriad ways means various ways. So Rukmani attributes the eviction to the tannery, but is in fact due to the social system that existed. So we can see that here. Some of you had been raised up, many others cast down, lost in its clutches, and because it grew and flourished, it got the power that money brings, so that to attempt to withstand it was like trying to stop the onward rush of the great juggernaut. Juggernaut means massive change. Well, I suppose there were some families. Uh, Suppose there were some families who saw it in hope for their sons. Indeed, many still depended on such earnings, and if my sons had still been there, my thoughts might have been different. But for us, as we were now, and others like us, there could only be resignation and resentment. There had been a time when we too had benefited. Those days seemed very remote, now almost belonging to another life. But we had lost more than we had gained or could ever regain. Ira had ruined herself at the hands of the thrones that the Teneri attracted. None but these would have laid hands on her even at her bidding. My sons had left because it frowned on them. One of them had been destroyed by its ruthlessness, and there were others its touch had scathed. Janaki and family, the hapless Chakli Kannan, Kunti even. Yet I must be honest, as my husbands and sons have always has been. The tannery cannot be blamed for every misfortune we suffered, tannery or not. The land might have been taken from us. It had never belonged to us, so they now come to realization that the land never belonged to them. We had never prospered to the extent where we could buy, and Nathan himself, the son of a landless man, had inherited nothing. And whatever extraneous influence the tannery may have excised, the calamities of the land belonged to it along, born of wind and rain and weather, immensities not to be tempered by man or his creations. To those who live by the land, there must always come times of hardship, of fear, and of hunger, even as there are years of plenty. This is one of the truths of our existence as those who live by the land know that sometimes we eat and sometimes we starve. We live by our labors, and from one harvest to the next, there's no certain telling whether we shall be able to feed ourselves and our children. And if bad times are prolonged, we know we must seek the weak, surrender their lives, and this fact too is within our experience. In our lives, there is no margin for misfortune. Still, while there was land, there was hope. Nothing now, nothing whatever. My being was full of the husk of despair, dry, lifeless, and I went into the hut and looked about me. Brown mud walls that had crumbled many a time and been rebuilt many a time. Coconut thatching, some of it still part of the old palm lightning had destroyed, as I could tell from the color, bare, beaten floor of baked mud, hardened with dunwash. This home my husband had built for me with his own hands in the time he was waiting for me, brought me to it with a pride which I used to better live in, had so very nearly crushed. In it we had lain together and our children had been born. This hut with all its memories was to be taken from us, for it stood on land that belonged to another, and the land itself by which we lived is a cruel thing, I thought. They do not know what they do to us. When Selvam came home that night from his studies, my husband broke the news to him. I do not know what I expected, indignation, anger, perhaps sorrow, but he betrayed no emotion. So we can see this moment marks Rukmani's disillusionment with the agricultural lifestyle. Not only the natural world is unable to provide sufficient resources. It is now clear that the social system leave poor farmers vulnerable to the uh, winds of the landlord and without any legal protection. So this moment provides a contrast to Rukmani's arrival on the farm when she was hesitant to begin life as a rural farm wife. As this phase of her life comes to a close, she poignantly realizes uh, how much she had loved it. So write it down. Yeah, these are important points. When Selvam came home that night from his studies, my husband broke the news to him. I he put the books he was carrying into the wooden crate he had made, and he sat down, still keeping his own counsel. The wavering light from the wick in its source of oil fell on his face, somber and serious, as always. Uh, serious, as it was always. Always was in repose. Repose means rest. Well, I thought, this cannot affect the life he has chosen, and so he is tranquil. Then I reminded myself that he was ever like this, and he seldom spoke until he had paused to reflect, and I felt ashamed. So Rukmani at a moment thought that the son Selvam won't feel about this, but and he would, because it was not related to him. But she felt later felt ashamed of her thought. In the brooding silence, I heard Nathan shift his position again, and I thought, naturally, he is impatient. He has a good cause. So this is in the night time, while they are sleeping, possibly sleeping. We had 2 weeks before we leave. I said, they have agreed to let us stay till then. You think that is good of them? Seldom said, his voice hard and sharp like crystals. He lifted his eyes to mine, and I saw they were black and smoldering, as if some deep flame of anger or hatred burned in them. Arnold made reply for me. It is better than being sent out at once, as others have been. Seldom turned on his father. You have accepted it, you have made no protest. What option have I, my son? Naturally, I protested, but it has availed me nothing. It is not just. So, in the previous days, as I said, Selvam does not feel like it's not related to Selvam, but actually, Selvam does feel about this situation that they are in. Uh, It is not just Selvam said it is not right, yet there is no law against it. And I said, Nathan, verily, we may grieve, but there is no redress. Where will you go? We must go to Murugan. He has a good job. I'm sure he will welcome his parents. So availed means served me nothing. So in their conception of the injustice of their lives, Rukmani, if not Nathan, is drawing closer to her son's viewpoints. However, she stops short, questioning the landlord's uh, decisions are actually valid or not. It is a long way with respect. You are not as young or as fit as you were. Yet the effort must be made, said Nathan. For he cannot live except by the land, for I have no other knowledge or skill, and as you say, I am getting on, and for me it would be impossible to find another landlord, who indeed would rent his land to such as I am, past hard labor and certain of paying what I owe. These words pierced me, hardened though I was, realist as I wished to be. Do not say these things, I said. I cannot bear to hear them. They are true. Whether they are true or not, I cried, I will not have you saying them. I would not distress you, Nathan said quietly, yet we must, yet must we not face the truth so that we can make our decisions. Have I told you anything you do not know yourself? No, I thought desolately, but I could not say it, could not. I closed my eyes and felt his hands on my temples, where the pulses beat, gently stroking, soothing me in the only way he could. He suffered for me, not so much for like himself, and I likewise, so that although together there was more strength, there was also more suffering, as if and if each had been alone, the way might have not seemed so hard. Yet I knew neither could have borne it alone. This confused my mind turned this way and that like a paper kite dip into every current of air, unsure of its own meanings. At length, in the midst of the blackness, I heard Selvam speaking and I opened my eyes. He seemed to be struggling with himself, for the words did not come easily, and the fears in the battle he waged had brought the sweat out on his forehead, left his hip lips dry. So we can say the hysterical means mad, crazy, stupid. So it is important and very concerning that Nathan always prioritizes his son's future happiness, even when doing so may leave him homeless and penniless. So desolately means sorrowful. Uh, he was addressing his father-in-law. No doubt he dismisses me as a hysterical woman. So hysterical means mad, crazy, stupid. I can always return to the land, he was saying. I'm a young, able, and able-bodied. Together we can rent another piece of land. Uh, Together we can rent another piece of land, live as we did. I saw my husband's eyes kindle. I saw in them fearfully the light of hope. You should not have said it, I cried silently to my son. It is too difficult for him, cruelly difficult. But already Nathan was shaking his head. No, my son, I would not have it so. He spoke resolutely. There are some things that cannot be sacrificed. Besides, I would never be happy. Certainly your mother would not let me rest. He added, smiling little. No, we must go. Ira and Sakrabani must come with us, of course. There's nothing for them here. I'll stay, said Ira, whom he had supposed sleep, and she rose and came and knelt beside her father. I'll not be a burden to you. I'm happy enough here. People are used to me and to my son. I cannot start a new life. If I can, said Nathan, whose youth is only a memory now. Why should not you, my child? You are very young. It will not be difficult for you. So Nathan says that it would not be difficult for you to marry even in a new place. I must think of my son, she replied. How will you eat? I said. Where will you live? If she decides to stay, said Seldom, she'll be with me. I will look after her, I swear it. And the child, of course. Is it possible, Nathan said. It is little enough you have for yourself. Do I not know, said Selvam bitterly. It is perpetual shame to me that I have nothing to offer my parents. Yet I promise they shall not go in need. So they had no choice but to split up and do the best they can and save themselves. If it had not been so late at night, if we had been less tired and dispirited, we might have argued with Ira, partly for her sake and partly for Seldom's. As it was, we said no more, not that night at any rate. Although subsequently we had more discussions than I can recount, excepting only that we were to go, that our children and grandchild were to stay. So finally, Ira and Seldom are becoming independent. How they are doing so? However, they are doing so under harsh and heartbreaking circumstances. Rukmani finally seems that the rural lifestyle which he had such faith cannot provide the life she's imagined or the future she wanted for her children. We can see that here. And as a conclusion we to this chapter, we can say that this chapter deals with a very sad story in which they are thrown out from they are deprived of their land. They're thrown out of their land. So this social system, the feudal social system which existed during post-colonial India, and the various hardships and the sorrowful experiences it brought along the common to the common people. This chapter also showcases the lives of the poor people, how they suffer under such conditions. So with that, we can end chapter 23, and in the next video, we'll meet with part 2 of this book, chapter 24. So thank you for watching. Do subscribe to my channel, like this video, and click the bell icon for more notifications. Thank you.